Whispers of the Smoky Mountains. I'm your host, Kaylin Cole, and this is...
I'm Carol James. I am the daughter of Otis and Carrie Arrington Howe.
This is where we're going to get into the good stuff. Aunt Carol is going to get into her childhood.
Okay. We lived in Shelby for about 5 or 6 years. Well, I was 5 years old when we had to move from Shelby. We moved up in the mountains to Grandfather Howell's place up on Ravens Mountain and in Del Rio. And we lived up there about 2 or 3 years. Then Mother and Daddy bought a little place from Grandma Warrington, or Grandpa Warrington. And it was a little bungalow house, and Mother dabbed the cracks in the bungalow to keep the cold weather out. And we had an old-fashioned fireplace laid with rocks and stuff. That's how we had our heat. And I have 5 brothers. I'm the only girl, and I was a tomboy. It had to be because I didn't have no sisters. And we was hard working. My mother and daddy was hard working people, and we had just an old country life, but we were happy. Daddy would read the Bible to us, and they took us to church and taught us to be honest. And there was a little saying Daddy'd always tell us, and I'll never forget it as long as I live. He said, once a task is once begun, never leave it till it's done. Do it well or be it well or be it small, do it well or not at all. And that stuck with me all down through the years. And he taught us to be honest, and he was a hard-working man. And when we moved back down to the little Grandpa Warrington place, he got a job in Morristown. He didn't have no car. He had to hitchhike from our place up at Hartford to Newport. He'd just get a ride however he could. And he stayed down there through the week. And he'd get home on Friday night about 10 or 11 o'clock, and we were always up waiting on him. And he would always bring us a little bar of candy. Mm-hmm. And my favorite bar was the Zero bar, so he always brought us what we liked. And I won't forget that either, because he was an honest, hard-working man.
That must run in the family like in Zero bars. Me and Uncle Kelly love Zero bars.
That was my favorite.
What's some good memories of your mama now?
Mother was precious. She was a good Christian woman. She was tough on you. She'd strap your legs, but she brought us up right, took us to church all the time and told us about the Lord.
This is your host, Kaylin Cole, with a small break from Old Smoky Moonshine. Embark on an adventure to the heart of the Smoky Mountains and experience the authentic taste of tradition with Old Smoky Moonshine, where every sip tells a story and every drop captures the essence of the Smoky Mountains. A huge thank you to Mikey McCarter for making my dreams come true to be able to share the stories of the Smoky Mountains that I love. If you are interested in an ad or a sponsorship to put into the podcast, please reach out via email or social media. My email is whispersofthesm@gmail.com. Thank you all for all of the support. Now more from Carol James.
We were us kids were just sitting kind of like in a circle on the floor. We were eating, I guess, cake or something I guess we had styrofoam plates. I don't remember that part. But we were laughing and giggling like little teenagers and little children do. We kept laughing and kept laughing. Mother told us to stop. I guess we'd run her crazy. And she kept telling us to stop. And finally she said, okay, now. She said, drop the subject. And I had a paper plate in my hand, or whatever kind of plate I had. And I said, okay, here it goes. And I dropped it, and she wore me out. I reckon she thought I was trying to be smart, because Mother was real strict, and she wanted you to be perfect. But she set me on fire.
Do you remember any stories of the boys getting in trouble and grandmother getting...
Yeah, there's always in trouble. I remember one time we were up on the hill above the house climbing trees, and Mother and Daddy told us not to climb, don't climb. Dwight climbed up in the pine tree and the limb broke out and he fell out and broke his shoulder blade. And then my brother Ronnie, he would help in the tobacco fields. We all had to work. And he was spudding the tobacco. A lot of people don't even know what spudding tobacco means, but it's where you put it on a stalk and hang it in the barn. And he jobbed a spud in his eye. Just about lost his eye. And we were all so worried. But they were all trying me into something. When we were kids and we lived up at the grandfather place, we had to work hard. We were just little, but we were taught to work hard. And we would work up there and hoe tobacco, hoe corn, hoe in the garden. Then go home and have to do all the work. The boys done the milking. I had to help do the cooking. And everything that had to be done. We had to dig potatoes and slop the hogs and all that stuff. And then next morning we get up and go back up there and work all day long and then walk back down to our house. And the grandfather had an upstairs in his little house. It's just a 3-room house. And they just laid planks over for the ceiling. And when the sun shone, it got it real hot, and it caused that pine rosin to run out of it. And it'd run great big long pieces, 5 or 6 inches long, just as yellow and clear as it could be. And we would get that, and we would make bubble gum out of that. And I know that sounds crazy. The younger kids, they wouldn't even know what I was talking about. But some of the older ones may remember it. And there was a vine that grew in the gardens and in the tobacco patches stuff. It was called sawbriars. And they had little blue berries on them. You take them little berries and pull the outside hull off, and then they had a little skipping in between that. Take that little skipping and pull it up and mix it up with the pine rosin and blow big old bubbles. I blowed a many of a big old bubble. And that was our bubble gum back then. And but I'll never forget all them good days that we had.
What about, do you remember when the story you told of Grant being born?
Yeah. When my brother Grant, I'm 9 years older than he is, but I didn't know anything about where babies came from or nothing like that. And I found some little baby clothes in the drawer. So Ronnie, I said, Mother's going to get us a little baby. He said, how do you know? And I said, I found his clothes in there. Well, when Mother went into labor, Daddy went to, I think he walked to Newport or partly to Newport anyhow, to get the doctor, and the doctor didn't get there in time, and so Leroy Hall was a midwife, and she came over and delivered Grant, but it was raining. It was raining so hard you couldn't hear nothing. And they put us in the bedrooms, and we had a tin roof on the house, and so we was in there and we couldn't hear. But then after Grant was born, I heard him crying, and I woke Dwight and Ronnie up and told them, I said, well, there's a little baby in there. But then my uncle, Albert Morrow, he told us his story. He said he brought Grant to us. Said he was coming to Mother and Daddy's and it pouring down the rain. And said he saw this little naked baby running across the road, or crawling across the road. And said when he got down to go down under the gate, he grabbed it by the legs and took it out to Mother. And I believed that for a long, long time. And I could just see Grant, that little naked baby crawling in that rain. But just stuff like that, they always had some kind of old saying or something they was telling us. And they told us about, said the little deers came out from under a deer bush. Now, I don't know if that's what they were called, but they had little white flowers on them like the spots on a baby deer. And but they told us that little baby deers come out from under them. Me and Ronnie would take a rope and climb all over them hillsides trying to find us a baby deer, but we never found one.
So, can you tell me a little bit about Grandmother Arrington and how many children she had?
Grandma Arrington had 16 children. She had one that died, or two that died. She had her oldest one died, and then I think she had a miscarriage, and then she had another baby. And had 13 that they raised, I think. But then one of her little daughters got killed when she was 9-year-old. Killed right at Grandma's feet. Grandma was 6 months pregnant with my Aunt Lois. And this boy came to Grandma's house and was wanting to borrow some shotgun shells. And Grandma told him, said, you can't, I believe he, well, I'm not calling his name, but anyhow, she told him, said, you can't have a shotgun shell, son. Said, you're too young. But he, I think he left the house. Then they said he came back and he shot at Grandma. But Grandma had stooped over to pick up a bucket of water. They were scrubbing the porch off. And when Grandma stooped over, the shot went across Grandma and killed Joyce. And Grandma about had it for 3 years. She about had a nervous breakdown.
What about the medicine in that story?
Oh,
Can you
yeah.
tell me a little bit about
That boy got sick then. And they needed some kind of medicine. I can't remember the name of the medicine. It was homemade medicine, like that's all they had. But they said they asked everybody in our little community. No one had none, and Grandma was the only one that had it. And she gave it to that boy, and I think it saved his life. And that was my grandma. She was a good one.
And Grandmother Arrington had healing. She could...
Yes, she could blow fire out of people. If they got burnt real bad when the big blisters came up, she said something. I don't know what it was she said, but she could whisper something. She'd mumble something, and them blisters would just dry up.
And it was a brown-eyed?
Yeah, she couldn't tell. A blue-eyed person could tell a brown-eyed person, or vice versa, you know, but a blue-eyed person couldn't tell a blue-eyed person. But, and I always begged her, I'd beg her, said, Grandma, please tell me, and she wouldn't tell me. But,
and Uncle Chuck?
Uncle Chuck, he could rub warts, and they'd go away.
And Grandmother Arrington with thrush, too, right?
Yeah, she could heal the thrush. And I don't know what they done, but they'd take the little babies out to the barn, and whatever they done, it would cure it. It would cure the thrush in them.
You said something about cow manure,
yeah.
didn't you?
They told me in later years, said they thought that they rubbed cow manure in their mouth. I don't know how true that is, but I've always been told that. But Grandma never would tell me exactly what they done. But whatever it was, it cured it.
It works, yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about cows and horses, what about that story you told me about the little horse?
Yeah. Daddy always, bless his heart, he just had his old horse, and he would plow with a single plow, turn the tobacco crops, and he had his old Harleys, and had his old rub boards, and the old-timey things, you know. And he'd plow the corn or the garden or whatever. And at dinner time, we brought the horse to the house and to take him and give him water. And so me and Ronnie and Dwight wanted to take the horse down there ourselves, so Daddy let us take him. He drank his water, and we started back up through there, and the boys wanted to ride on his back. And I think I put Dwight on his back the best I can remember. I started to put Ronnie up on there, and that horse reached around and bit me on the shoulder, lifted me plumb up off of the ground.
You have a little mark from it still, don't you?
Got a brown place on my back where it bit me. Scared us to death. We was all screaming and going, it was scared us. But,
and then you got a little older, and you met a man, and everybody says you were the cutest couple. You were so good to look at, they said. And can you tell me a little bit about Ben or Honey?
Yeah, he was the love of my life. I was crazy over him. And he asked Mother if we could get married, and she said, "Oh," said, "you'll have to ask God." Said, "I can't tell you that, you have to ask God." So Ben finally picked up enough nerve to ask Daddy, and Daddy told him I was too young, and but of course Ben persuaded me to slip off, and we slipped off and got married.
And what did you put in your shoe?
I thought, well, I was just 16, and Ben said, I think his dad told him that, said, had me to write put 21 down on a piece of paper and put it up on the shoe and tell him I was over 21. The man that married us, he said, "Honey, really, how old are you?" But, and we've been on, we had our 3 children. Myra was the oldest, and then Lenny lived us 26 months between them, and then waited 10 years and had Marty. And I thank God for my little family. They were precious children. Then I lost my 2 boys. And it just about done us in, but I thank God for the good memories.
Heard you used to give some good spankings back in the day.
Myra says so.
Do you have any stories of Myra, Marty, or Lenny getting in trouble that you remember? Or any good little cute memories?
Not really. I think they done all they're out of my sight. Her and Jed and Lynn, Jed and Lenny done things like those rotten strawberries on each other and rotten tomatoes and stuff like that. But they were pretty good kids.
And then you have some grandchildren.
Yeah, and I raised my Benny, the oldest son. We raised him, and he's precious. He just feels like mine. And now I've got all these great grandchildren, that had a good family, and I thank God for them. And I've tried to teach them the best I know how.
And there's one more story I want to bring up. It's the salt on the bird's tail. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, when we lived up at Grandfather's place, it came a big snow, and back then we had big snows. It wasn't like it is now. We don't never have a big snow anymore. But it was, to us, it was up to our knees because, we were little boy and girl. And Daddy told us that if you could put salt on her, we had heard this, if you could put salt on a bird's tail, you could catch it. So me and Ronnie wanted to go outside and catch us a bird. And Daddy kept telling us, he said, "Young'un," said, "you can't get close enough to a bird to put salt on its tail." Oh, we argued with him. Yes, we could. Yes, we could. We kept on at him, probably wore the poor feller down. And he said, "Okay." He said, "I'm going to let you go out." And said, he give us a certain amount of time. And he said, "If you don't catch the bird, then I'm going to whoop you." And we got back in, and I think me and Ronnie both were probably crying because we thought he probably whipped us, but he didn't, beat us to death. And I said, well, if Ronnie hadn't scared the bird off, I could have caught him. But we never did catch a bird.
There's another story about a bat in the house. Do you have that one?
Yes, I was thinking about that for the night. We had moved down to Ben's, and we were building us a new house, and we'd moved down to Ben's uncle's house, that just right off the hill here. And they had burnt wood at that time, and we hadn't got the stovepipe up, but me and Myra and Lenny went to bed, and Myra said, "Mom," said, "there's something in here." And I said, "All they did is just your imagination." And she told me that 3 or 4 times, and I'd tell her, "See, it's just your imagination." Then all of a sudden it just swooped down over me right across my face. And I got up to see what it was, and it was a bat in the house. And I finally got it out. We got it back out on the porch, but that was a scary thing. You want me to tell them about my vacuum cleaner?
Go ahead if you want to.
Well, another thing, this is crazy, but it happened to me. I can tell you a lot of things well, all of this is true, but I can tell you real true things that happened to me. It's been several months ago, it came a big storm. And the lightning was just flashing. And I didn't know the power had went off though, but I got up and turned the light on, didn't have no power. And I was just standing there and it was pitch dark. You couldn't see in before you. And I didn't have a flashlight, didn't have nothing. There I stood just by myself in the dark. And I heard something coming down my hall. And it just kept bumping into stuff and I could hear things rattling. And my heart, it's a wonder I hadn't had a heart attack. And I kept thinking, Lord, what is that? And it kept coming closer and closer and closer. Then all of a sudden I looked down and there's little red and blue lights going over my floor. And it scared me to death. And then finally it bumped my foot. And I realized that it was my vacuum cleaner. The power sandwich. And George had knocked it loose or something. And I looked at that vacuum cleaner and I said, you stupid thing. That was a big scare. And I've had a lot of things that scare me. It may be crazy to some people, but it happened to me.
So anything else that you want to talk about with your childhood, honey?
And I'm sure there is, but it's been a long time ago.
What made you want to marry honey?
I loved him.
What made you love him?
I just loved him. He was the love of my life. And I stuck with him. He took cancer and I stood right by his side till he died. Was holding his hand when he died. And I've lived here ever since he died. Don't want to go nowhere else. But, I thank God for my life and pray that I've been a blessing to somebody. But these youngins want me to tell this stuff. And I said people would make fun of me, but it's the truth.
Well, can you tell me some of the stories about living in the Smoky Mountains that you'll never forget? Did you enjoy the introduction music in the first of the podcast? If so, Chase Rains is the one to thank. Chase Rains' musical talents has undeniably added a unique and captivating dimension to our podcast. We feel privileged to have the opportunity to collaborate with Chase on the Whispers of the Smoky Mountains. Now, once again, back to Carol James.
I have many, many memories, but right now I can't recall all of them. But if I could recall, I could tell you a lot of stories. But a lot of my friends and my neighbors and the older people that's done dead and gone told a lot of tales about seeing lights and panthers and stuff like that. But I believe they were true that they told. But I just can't remember exactly how they were, what all was said.
Can you tell me a little bit about when you seen the lights, or about Lois seeing the lights?
Yes, my mother, when she was a little girl, our grandma Leatherwood, mother's grandmother, lived just across the creek from where Grandpa Warrington lived. And they didn't have nothing, they didn't have the bridges then, they just had foot logs. And Mother said that Grandma Leatherwood was going to take her home that night, and said they saw lights coming down the road from Grandpa's house. And said Grandma Leatherwood took her hand and put it on her shoulder and said, step back, said, I believe that's the meeting folks are coming. And said there's a big light coming down through there, right, like it was in front of them. They thought it was in with the lanterns. And said that her and Grandma waited, said that light just kept coming, come down, come across the foot log and went right down into the abutment of the creek. And disappeared. They never did know what it was. And then my Aunt Lois said that when she was dating, that her and her boyfriend had walked up to the steps and said there's a big light come and stopped right at their feet and went up under the floor, but they never did know what that was either. So there've been a lot of tales about lights, but
and Grandfather
yeah,
Jacob?
Yeah, my grandfather Jacob Howard, we stayed with him one night a week when we were going to school, and we had all went to bed, and I saw a light circling above his bed, and it went above his bed and down the wall, and then it just disappeared, and I never even know what that was. So there's a lot of light stories that could be told, but I know there are more, but I can't think right now of all of them, but they have been lights seen.
And your brother Lynn talks about the panthers, and a lot of people that live up in Grassy talk about the panthers. Can you recall the time that you heard the black panther?
Oh, yes. We had always been told, a friend of ours that lived not too far away from us, he saw it, saw the big black panther. And then we always carried our wood up, especially in the wintertime, packed it on the porch. And me and my brother Ronnie had went out on the porch to get wood. And we heard this, like a woman is screaming, just screaming at the top of her voice. It scared us, and we went back in the house and told Mother, and she come out and she heard it. So we always figured that was a panther. And then me and Daniel heard one over here on top of the hill, just screaming. It just sounds like a woman is screaming, but I didn't see it now, but we heard it.
And my mama Emma.
And Emma, Charles's mother, my son-in-law's mother, told me, said there's one come by her house, come down off the hill to her house, and said her dog started barking, and she had a big high fence around her house, around her yard, and said that panther just jumped, just made a leap and jumped out plumb across that fence. She said it had a tail 5 or 6 feet long. She's told me that tail, I don't know how many times she told me. So they've been several people saw panthers up in here. There've been a lot of bobcats, and my dad, when we lived down at our place down there where Mother and him lived when they died, a bear came through and about killed one of his cows, and so we know that was true, and there's just different things that's happened,
And then you have a tale that lies right in the backyard of your home. And Aunt Myra always talks about this tale.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, we had always been told, said during the war, I can't remember what was the Civil War, I don't know what, it was one of the wars, and they go through and kill people, and they said they killed this man right out here in our field. And there was a big oak tree there. And they always told that when it rained, you could see him out there, and he didn't have no head, so he was out there under the tree. And so Myra wanted to find out and see if it was true. She went out there and laid in the rain and looked for the man, but she never did see it. But we've always been told that said he showed up when it rained. That big tree blew over last year. Come a big storm and it blew over, but it's a tale we've always been told.
I wonder when the tree fell if it took his head off.
I don't know.
Well, I thank you so much for coming on, and I love you so much.
I love you too so much. Glad that I've got all of you to be here with me tonight. And I don't know how good a job I've done. I feel foolish.
No, they're going to love it. Everybody's going to love it, and they're so excited to see what you
I just want to be the kind of person, I just want people to know I love the Lord and I fear the Lord, and I've tried to live a good Christian life all my life. I failed, but I tried to live right for the Lord and intend to go on till the day I die. But I love all of you.
Thank you so much for joining us here on the Whispers of the Smoky Mountains. If you enjoyed the first episode with Carol James, please consider subscribing or following. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us continue to bring you captivating stories of the Smoky Mountains. If you have any feedback, guest suggestions, or just want to say howdy, feel free to reach out to us via social media or email at whispersofthesm@gmail.com. Your input is so valued, and we love hearing from our listeners. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep tuning in to the Whispers of the Smoky Mountains for more exciting conversations. Take care, and we'll catch you on the next episode here at the Whispers of the Smoky Mountains podcast.